You know the typical story when a company gets hit with ransomware, right? It's all about fear, secrecy, and usually a quiet payment to just make it all go away. But what if there was a totally different way to handle it? Well, today we're diving into how one company faced that exact threat and decided to just flip the entire script. They turned a potential disaster into something pretty amazing. Okay, so just imagine for a second. That dreaded email lands in your inbox. Your company's data, it's been stolen, and the criminals want a big payout. The first feeling is going to be sheer panic, for sure. But what if? What if you didn't panic? What if you saw this moment not as a disaster, but as a real strategic opportunity? So let's break it down, because really, there are two paths a company can take here. You've got the old way, the one we all know. You pay the ransom, you keep your mouth shut, and you just pray the problem goes away. But then, there's this whole new approach we're going to look at today. It's about defying the threat, being radically transparent, and actually turning a huge negative into a positive. Sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, one company did exactly that. So to really get how they did it, we've got to go back to the beginning. And yeah, like most of these stories, it starts with a total nightmare scenario. Okay, so let's get into the specifics here. The target was Checkout.com, a huge player in the fintech world. But, and this is a really crucial detail, the breach didn't hit their main systems. Nope, it was an old, totally forgotten third-party cloud storage system, and it was just holding old stuff from 2020 and earlier. So we're not talking about some sophisticated hack on their best defenses. This was literally a ghost from their digital past coming back to haunt them. And the attackers, well, they were no amateurs. We're talking about shiny hunters, a pretty notorious and well-known cybercrime group. So this wasn't some random threat. Oh no, this was a serious shakedown attempt by experienced criminals who, absolutely expected to get paid. So the attack itself was pretty standard, but the response? It was anything but. This was that critical moment where Checkout.com had to make a choice. Follow the old playbook or, write a brand new one. And the person who made that call was the company's chief technology officer, Mariano Albarera. Instead of hiding out in a boardroom with a bunch of lawyers, he stepped right into the spotlight. Now, his first move was completely counterintuitive. Seriously, it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Instead of secrecy, Albarera went with radical accountability. He immediately owned the breach and was totally upfront about what happened and who might be affected. And his transparency wasn't vague either. He actually put a number on it. He estimated that only about a quarter of their current customers would be affected by this breach of old data. By being that specific, he took control of the story and started building trust, instead of just letting fear and rumors run wild.
But just taking accountability, that was only the beginning. This is where their strategy went from just reactive to truly revolutionary. This is where they flipped the script and went from being a victim to being an industry innovator.
They came up with this concept we can call an ethical extortion response. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's so powerful. Instead of rewarding the bad guys with a ransom payment, you take those funds and you redirect them towards something positive, like research or security improvements. It's a game changer.
And Checkout.com didn't just talk about it, they did it. They publicly pledged that the money that would have gone to the ransom was now going to fund independent research into cybercrime. Think about that. They took an attack designed to hurt them and turned it into something that would help protect the entire industry. They didn't just defy the hackers, they basically made them irrelevant to the equation.
So this isn't just a cool one-off story. It's actually a blueprint. So how can other companies do the same thing? Let's break it down into a clear, actionable playbook for any leader who might find themselves in that same nightmare scenario.
Okay, here are the 3 core steps. First, the proactive stuff. Kill your ghost accounts. Go through all those old, forgotten systems and just get rid of them. Second, if a breach does happen, you have to get ahead of the story. Communicate with radical transparency. And third, refuse to fund criminals. Take that ransom budget and put it to good use. Bug bounties, university research, you name it.
For decades, the conventional wisdom was that admitting a security failure was a sign of weakness, that it would completely destroy customer trust. This story just proves the exact opposite. Transparency, accountability, and having a clear plan for the future, those aren't signs of weakness, they are the ultimate demonstration of strength.
And that strength, it really pays off. This whole defiant strategy isn't just about ethics. It turns out it's an incredibly smart business move where your reputation becomes the reward. Let's just look at the benefits here. Instead of losing customer trust, this approach actually builds it. It shows strong, decisive leadership right when it matters most. Your brand doesn't get destroyed, it actually gets stronger. And by funding research, you're not just saving yourself, you're lifting up the entire industry. And all of this leads to a really powerful, kind of provocative question. We're always taught to think of a crisis as something you just survive. But what if it's actually an opportunity to build something better? The lesson here seems to be that yes, when you handle it with courage and transparency, a crisis can absolutely forge a stronger, more respected brand.
In the end, shiny hunters probably wanted a quick payday. But what they got was a lesson in defiance. This whole story proves that when that dreaded email lands in your inbox, you have a choice. You can panic, or you can have a plan. And sometimes, it turns out the most defiant plan is the best defense you can possibly have.